Aldous Huxley was one of the most colorful and influential figures in the 1990s. A prolific writer, endowed with a brilliant mind and scathing wit, Huxley was well respected for his screenwriting, short stories, poetry, travel writing, essays and novels, the most famous of which is The Brave New World. In his book The Doors of Perception, Huxley wrote about his experiences with the hallucinogenic drug mescaline. In another book Ends and Means, Huxley describes his atheism. You can find a copy of the Chatto and Windus edition at archive.org, as it's in the public domain now. Atheism in Huxley's view, attributes a certain meaninglessness to life, that is, there is no ultimate meaning to life and choices, as there is no divine lawgiver. In Ends and Means, page 270, quote,
I had motives for not wanting the world to have a meaning, consequently assumed that it had none, and was able without any difficulty to find satisfying reasons for this assumption.
So outside of this, Huxley was not willing to investigate anything. He writes in the next paragraph,
We don't know because we don't want to know. It is our will that decides how, and upon what subjects we shall use our intelligence.
That is strange. When you start out to research something, you do not start out with the conclusion already settled in your mind. Huxley had already decided that he did not want the world to have a meaning, and in his words was able, without any difficulty, to find satisfying reasons for this assumption. Note the word assumption. Further in page 267, he throws more light on what his inner motivations were, quote,
Our conviction that the world is meaningless, is due in part to the fact discussed in a later paragraph, that the philosophy of meaninglessness, lends itself very effectively, to furthering the ends of erotic or political passion.
In another place, Huxley clarifies again, the motivation behind his philosophy. On page 272 he writes,
The philosopher who finds no meaning in the world, is not concerned exclusively with a problem in pure metaphysics. He is also concerned to prove that there is no valid reason why he personally should not do as he wants to do.
Huxley is also clear that he is not the only odd one who feels this way. He writes that most of his contemporaries felt that way too. In page 273 he wrote,
For myself, as no doubt, for most of my contemporaries, the philosophy of meaninglessness was essentially an instrument of liberation. The liberation we desired was simultaneously liberation from a certain political and economic system, and liberation from a certain system of morality. We objected to the morality because it interfered with our sexual freedom.
However brilliant Huxley may have been as an author, he's not been objective or unbiased in his philosophy. By his own assessment, neither were most of his contemporaries. In today's world, it seems like Huxley's biased legacy is still being celebrated by many. Here is Richard Dawkins standing before a similar sentiment. Do you wonder why some people have difficulty in seeing the plain facts?